So today, super excited to be talking about marketing with augmented reality. I feel like augmented reality is the future. It's going to drive more impact than virtual reality, more impact than the metaverse. We're very close to this kind of coming out at scale. So very excited. But before we jump in, I want the panelists to introduce themselves. They're fantastic. We're lucky to have them. Dana, do you want to go first?
Yeah. I'm really happy to be here with you all today. My name is Dana Ware. I am the Chief Creative Officer for Around. I make augmented reality for locations, specifically working with different brands and stadiums, leagues, teams. And I'm also the advisor for The Void, which is a location-based virtual reality company as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Raag Harshavat. And I am on the AR developer relations team at Snapchat. And so my job is I focus on managing a lot of our third-party studios and a lot of our third-party developers as they find success and develop monetization opportunities, primarily working in marketing and brands, and spent a lot of time around campaigns like that. And so really excited to be able to talk about this here today.
Hey everybody, my name is Brett Perloff. I'm a co-founder and the CEO of Prism AR. We are building solutions for spatial app developers and advertisers, bringing the first programmatic advertising platform to the spatial medium.
Thank you. So I think I'm sort of preaching to the choir here when I talk about augmented reality, but can I just get a show of hands? Like, how many people do you know what AR is? Do we all know what augmented reality is? Most of the room. I want to roll a clip that just shows some visual examples of AR inside of marketing and what it looks like. So the great thing about augmented reality is it's going into three-dimensional space with spatial computing. So you can tell stories and you kind of immerse the user in this 3D space and take advantage of it. It's going beyond that flat screen. And we're moving in a direction where right now we have to use it with our phones, and that's not always the best user experience, but that's changing very quickly, because it's going to be built into our sunglasses, our reading glasses, into windshields, into windows, into all these different places. We're going to be surrounded by it, and there's a ton of opportunities for brands. They're going to want to be there. So let's jump into some questions. The first question I have for you, Raag, at Snapchat. I'm really impressed with Snap in general, the Snap lenses. I feel like it's a very practical use case where lots of brands are coming to you and leveraging this. Yeah, do you want to talk about Snap lenses a little bit?
Yeah, with Snap, you guys haven't seen our logo at all today, I'm sure. And so what we're really focused on is, with our Snapchat app, we've found a lot of really interesting ways for augmented reality to actually reach scale and reach a lot of people. I think it's something like 6 billion AR impressions a day, and that allows us to really provide opportunities for brands to use our resources to go all over the place. So, we have lenses in our carousel. When you open the app, the top few of them are sponsored lenses. It's a great opportunity for advertisers to reach people. But then we also use our AR platform in so many other ways. We have something called Camera Kit, which allows you to put AR experiences on iOS and Android apps and build installations. So we're finding lots of ways that brands like to use AR to create shareable, fun experiences that are really good for brands.
Awesome, thank you. And Dana, from a creative standpoint, why are you excited about augmented reality?
Yeah, I think that augmented reality has really shown the ability to help people interact in a new way that they haven't necessarily been able to do before with brands. So they can actually try things on. They can see how things will look on their face. They can interact with games, which is what we primarily focus on at Around, is we create massive multiplayer games. So we'll take 70,000 people and bring a communal experience to them that utilizes this augmented reality technology to really allow the people to feel like the whole environment has shifted and changed into something magical. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to really be able to bring brands a completely new way of realizing their content within these spaces.
Awesome. And Brett, question for you, like how do you see, like you really are on the distribution side on like how to get marketing inside of all these different apps. Yeah. What is your perspective on this?
Yeah, so we're coming from a little bit of a different standpoint. We see spatial evolving into a situation very similar to mobile, where you have devices, app ecosystems, and app developers, and many of those app developers are going to need a monetization solution. We're not going to pay for every single app we have, just like on our phones, on our glasses. So what we've done is we've built a platform where essentially democratizing the ability to get ads into spatial environments. And that's how it works on mobile, that's how it works on websites, that's how it works on connected television, streaming television. We see the same thing happening here as one option for brands. But of course, another option is more focused, more extravagant, one-to-one experiences like Raag and Dana are working on.
Yeah, but you can see a world where if all of these AR apps are in our daily life, there's going to be a demand for advertisers to be there, and we need solutions to make it easy for them to do so. So that makes sense. Let's jump into some case studies, because I'd love to look at some specific work and kind of dissect that and figure out why it works. So the first one we're going to look at is Coca-Cola, and so let's run that.
I guess Paris technique. This is IP, but oh no, never mind.
That's Snap and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Awesome project that you were involved in. Can you talk about the goals of that campaign and like why it was so successful?
Yeah. So the first thing with this campaign, I want to shout out our Arcadia team because that's our in-house innovation AR studio, and they go out and they look for interesting projects where they can feel like they can innovate but also deliver really great brand impact. So I want to call out that specifically. They're the ones who produced that particular experience alongside Coca-Cola. This was specifically centered around the Olympics, and they were looking for an activation that would be able to bring a fun experience for just a multitude of types of people that were there. If you know that the Olympics in Paris, also the Paralympics were running at the same time. And so it was a real consideration. We decided to use the AR mirror technology, which is something that Snap has been constantly trying to innovate on. Our developers now have access to it, but we also work with it. And we focused on something, was one of the first things that we realized was that we just wanted to focus on head tracking because everyone was different heights, people were different sizes, some were in accessible situations wearing wheelchairs. And so because of this, we were able to create a mirror that allowed you to play with your friends, compete against your friends in a very quick and fun experience on a surface that people just generally aren't used to experiencing augmented reality. And then you get a Coke after, which I think provided this really fun kind of full circle moment where augmented reality led you to something that, you know, unexpected and kind of associates it with an experience that you already have a really great feeling from.
Yeah, I love that one. Next, I want to jump to one of your projects, Dana, the Disneyland project. Let's jump to that.
Yeah, so this experience actually happened at the Rams Stadium, so here in Los Angeles at SoFi. And they have an activation part of the game, a section of the game where they'll do a brand activation. And we went in and visualized how we would make an augmented reality game where not just the 4 contestants, so you saw these 2 families are competing to win tickets to Disneyland. And instead of just having the 2 families compete, what we wanted to do is find a way to bring in everybody, add the whole stadium to that moment. And what we did was we took the stadium, we divided it up into 2 different teams. There was the Soul team and the Royal team, and they represented 2 of the families that were down on the field. And you're basically trying to help one of the 2 families win tickets to Disneyland. So it becomes this like asymmetrical gameplay, you're rooting for a family, you're part of a team, you're popping these balloons, fireworks are going off. It's a huge spectacle, and we're able to bring in an augmented version of the castle into the stadium. So if you were ground level, you looked up and you saw this massive castle in front of you, and it was just so huge and magical. But if you were high up in the stadium and you looked down, you could see the whole entire play set. So it looked like this castle was just filling the stadium with these balloon launchers and these fireworks going off. And it was such a magical experience because it has a different perspective because it is AR. You could be in that stadium and see the same, be a part of that same experience the next week, and depending on where you were located in the stadium, have a completely different type of experience with the same exact content, which makes it feel more replayable in its own way too. And instead of forcing users to opt into some type of user profile or system where we're like capturing their data at the beginning, we allow you just to come in and play. So we don't really have to make money off of you right when you come in. That's not the point. The point is to give you an extension of this world and to bring in something that you would have never seen before, allow you to be a part of it. And if you want to enter to win free tickets to Disneyland, that's your choice. You can choose to opt in or to opt out, but we don't prevent you from playing. Now, the second layering of this is we actually have cameras installed in the stadium. Take that feed of all of the content that's being shown in AR, throw that back up onto the big infinity screen that's inside the stadium, and now you don't have to have your cell phone out. You don't have to actually be playing to see and be a part of that moment because it's being shown in this transmedia dimensional way, which for us is really fun to see how we can take a brand and bring it into that augmented space and give it purpose, intention, and a magical moment for everyone to enjoy together.
I love that. Well done. So I think the next logical question is, how is this stuff made? What is the tech stack? Like, what tools are being used? I think a lot of people are familiar with 8th All from Niantic. That's a great AR tool that people can use. But I'll start with you, Raag. Snapchat has some really fantastic software that's available to everybody. Can you talk about some of the tools?
Yeah, so it all comes down and starts with Lens Studio. So if you go to ar.snap.com, you can download Lens Studio for free, and this is the same development platform that allows you to publish lenses to Snapchat and to our spectacles. It's a very robust game engine type software. If you're familiar with Unity, you'll be able to pick it up quickly. And we have a lot of very exclusive AR, ML features that no one else has that I think really are designed around making AR experiences special. But what's also cool is that the middle of our tech stack between spectacles and Snapchat is you also have the ability to use Lens Studio to use our SDK, and you can publish experiences to iOS, Android, or web apps or any sort of website. And what's even cooler than that is any lens you publish to Snapchat, you can actually go into it and just create a web link for it instantaneously, and it's 100% free, unlike some of the other competitors out there, and you can actually, for a lot of experiences, get a web experience right out of the box.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Dana, tell us about some of the tech stack that you use and your kind of journey of different
100%.
software you've gone through.
Yeah, and for a moment, I'm just say that is amazing. Like what they're offering, and especially if you look at some of the competitors that are out there, which for us, and I'll explain our journey, we actually did look at all the competitors, and we were like, what is going to bring an ROI? What is actually not going to tank our company in the end, right? Because you have to think about these things. There's a lot of financials behind how do you launch, what platform do you launch on, and what's the longevity of that product. And can you rely on them to be around in 6 months is another question you should be asking yourself as you're moving forward. So for us, ourselves, we've kind of been through a journey at Around where we started off as a Unity app. So entire team was Unity team, and here we are, and we're building apps. And you'd have to go in, if you went to a Twins game, you actually would have to download our app in order to play at the Twins stadium. Now, things have shifted because MLB was like, oh, we actually don't want you downloading another app while you're at the stadium, which completely makes sense. So we had to kind of figure out what are we going to do? Because we can't, there's a friction point there too. If you ask people to download an app, one, you don't know what the Wi-Fi scenario is for them. Two, you don't know what type of phone they have, right? And three, you don't always want to download another app onto your phone. I'm like, again? Really? I have to do this again? So there's a lot of friction points there. So we had to take a step back and say, what are we going to do? How do we eliminate all of those friction points? And for us, the best solution was, let's figure out how to be an embeddable. And that meant taking an entire Unity team and figuring out how we were now going to learn a whole new tech stack so that we could actually make a web embeddable. It's worked out for our team. We have had lots of pain points trying to transition people over to a whole new platform and interface. We started working with Babylon, and it's been a huge learning curve for everyone involved, especially me too, because I'm like, I want to do this thing. Can I do this? That's always my question. Can I do this thing? Will it let me do this thing? Because I don't know, because I come from that traditional game background where I've been using these engines who've been around forever, who have all these plugins and do all these things that just come out of the box. And in this space, we're having to invent a lot of those solutions. But that's why finding a team that's malleable, willing to dip into the unknown, try things out, know that they're going to fail, know that the first time we launched, we didn't have shadows, and I'm like, ugh, it's horrible. But down the road, you just kind of keep pushing, and you come up with the solutions. The Disneyland project, we finally nailed the shadows so well on that project, and it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, we finally figured out how to make something have depth in AR without having to rely on somebody else's solution. For us, it was scary to say, hey, we're going to put all our eggs into this other company and use their solution, because we're doing things like the broadcast AR stuff, which requires us to have to be a lot more flexible with our own stack as well.
So Brett, speaking of software, let's jump over to your side. I want to hear about Prism.
We're different because we're not creating the ad formats. We're creating the platform where thousands, hopefully hundreds of thousands, really hopefully millions of spatial app developers are going to be able to run their businesses if they're not, the few who can actually sell their apps. And what you're seeing now, just take a step back, is a Dawn ad running above dirty pots in a kitchen. And we can actually signal in real time to the advertisers or the algorithms representing the advertisers, hey, this user's in a bedroom right now. An 8-sleep mattress or Serta mattress or Tempur-Pedic mattress, they may bid higher because they think that showing a mattress ad in a bedroom above their current bed, maybe the person's not happy with their mattress, would be a great moment for them to run that ad. So we can actually signal in the moment by understanding contextually where the user is to the advertiser's algorithm. This all happens in milliseconds. And based on that additional information, they can bid in an auction and potentially show their ad if they win the auction. All of this happens in fractions of a second. And there are platforms set up that we're interacting with to do this. We're working on additional contextual understandings, things like items and circumstances, so that we can pass that information in milliseconds to advertisers who've set up their campaigns on other platforms to help inform them how valuable is this ad opportunity. So to do all of this, obviously we have computer vision at work, we have AI at work, we have SDKs which had to be built specifically for each operating system. So far we've built an SDK to do everything I just explained on an iPhone. So we've built an SDK for iOS. We will build one for Android phone. But really what we're focused on is building SDKs for the head-worn world. It's coming. So Horizon OS, Snap OS, Vision OS, and of course Android XR. So it's SDKs operating in these environments when users are on apps, understanding what they're looking at, finding the right place, white space essentially to place an ad so that it's not disruptive to what they're actually using the app for. What you just saw was just our test app, just placing ads, but that really will apply in an app that might be a game, an app that might be a utility. Maybe it's an app that helps you measure, tape measure app, a very simple use case. We may have all seen them, there's like 50 of them in the App Store, especially on phones, where you hold it up and you say, all right, I want to measure from there to there. Well, there's a lot of space there that app developer can monetize. And that's basically what our platform will do across, like I said, hopefully hundreds of thousands, if not millions eventually, app developers across all the app ecosystems.
What makes a good AR app? Like, what are the successful techniques and reasons why it's successful? The first example I want to show is Uber Eats, a project from Dana.
So basically, we wanted to make a project. Uber Eats, again, they have activations at the Rams, but they wanted to make something that was going to really bring in the entire audience. And so what we decided to do was Foodies of LA. LA is such a foodie town, and they have Uber Eats stands all throughout the stadium. And so we took the different types of restaurants that they had at the stadium. They're all divided up by neighborhoods. And what we did is we took those neighborhoods and we turned those into teams. And so you get assigned whichever team that you're on. And there's actually a player who's also assigned to. So we're bringing in the Rams football players and merging that in with the Uber Eats brand and then turning it into a very like LA-centric experience, right? So you're on your team, you're playing. The people around you in your section are also on the same team with you. And if you win, you get a prompt that gives you a free meal. So right then and there, your team wins, you're playing with your friends, you guys all just won a free meal. And you literally, in that moment, can order your meal and have it delivered to your seat. So there's this whole user journey of we played, we accomplished something together, we're having this fun moment, and then we get to celebrate with our loot, our reward, right? We get to drink a beer together and hang out and interact with the brand in this very seamless way if we decide that we want to opt in and grab that free meal that we have coming to us. So it's a really fun way to be able to take that brand and let you not only have this fun augmented reality experience, but then get to live it and enjoy it together as a community.
Yeah, engaging and rewarding, so successful. I want to jump over to one of Raag's projects.
I'm at the top, that's 1, not 2 or 3. I eat it all up like a dinner plate. I've been on the move like I'm running late. Left, right, left, let's go. I'm unstoppable. I got money flowing in. In case you didn't know, they used to doubt me. Now I got them like, wow, making boss moves. I've been on a roll. I'm blowing up, gotta put them on hold. I am the bag, that's what I've been told. I keep my cool under pressure like a boss. I'm all in, it don't matter what it costs. All I do is win and the good from the top. Pick up the pace. 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 Pick up the pace.
Yeah, so huge shout out to Arcadia again. Our in-house studio does amazing work. And if we were to break down some of the things that were really successful about this campaign, just to define it, it essentially was a gamification where you could pull your phone up to the sky across Paris during the Olympics and sort of play a variety of different mini games. There would be a sky leaderboard that was shared across of it so people could share and kind of see it. And the concept, first of all, I think anytime you're building an activation or an experience in something that has so much context, understanding that context is like utterly essential, because unlike other types of advertising mediums that might find yourself in a very contained context of a television or a screen, AR fills in the world, and so you're engaging people where they are. So very much so, there were about 9% of kids in France who actually had access to Olympic events or Olympic things, but 90% of them were able to access Snapchat. And so can you create an experience that's easy to use wherever you are? And so what is a piece of real estate that everyone has access to? The sky. And so building an experience so that everyone there could utilize that particular space to kind of have an experience where everyone's sharing and talking about it, that's very much a superpower of AR, because it brings people into shared spaces and experiences that are more heightened than anything a video or sound or any other type of advertising medium is. So like whenever you're thinking about AR advertising, you have to ask yourself, what are those things that you can engage and do that are simply impossible otherwise? And how can I supercharge those in this context to make the people feel something that they otherwise wouldn't be able to feel?
Well done. I want to talk about the concept of value. Like, what type of real special value do we get from an augmented reality ad compared to a traditional ad? Like we've had ads forever, TV spots, billboards, all of this stuff. Why do we need AR, advertising? And I'll ask you, Raag, first. I guess Snapchat. A lot of people, clients are running tons of video ads on the platform already.
Yeah.
Why do they need to do something in AR?
Yeah, well, it's something that often has to be like told and sold, as any of you who work in AR and advertising probably have done before. We've certainly been able to do that kind of numbers. I'm pulling out my phone because I just want to get the right numbers. We've been able to show across our 6 billion AR interactions every day. Some of the a study that we put out on AR and attention said that they saw AR get 1.6 higher lifts in ad awareness compared to video, like similar video ads on our platform, 4 times higher lift in brand awareness, and 2 times in action intent. And so some basic metrics show that if you, especially in a platform where it's kind of been tailored for that delivery, then you're able to get really great results because people are used to it, they're experiencing it. That's not to say though that like the creative doesn't matter. The choices that are made by individual advertisers, all of those things matter. And so it's really exciting when that takes off with people, because it is a very real, I wouldn't be, I'm not selling snake oil here. I think it's a really good investment for brands.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too.
And Brett, you see this as inevitable, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, from our standpoint, we're very early. We're not even live yet. We're waiting for more evidence from companies like Snapchat and Dana's company. We all know what we think. We think that these environments clearly are going to be super engaging. The fact that we can do way more in them, cause more engagement, do more creative things is only going to help. But from our standpoint, the value has to be proven with data. And the way that we're going to be running ads hasn't really been done before. I mean, the ads are running in other places that we're going to start with. But where they're running has not really been done. So a lot of the value for us that we're pretty sure is going to be there will be proven as companies like Snap and Around are doing more and more of these, more extravagant activations. But the metrics, a lot of those are across the board. In other words, if people tend to spend more time looking at ads while they're in spatial, that's likely going to be true no matter, to an extent, what the ad looks like. It may, if the ad doesn't look great, that will be lower, but it will be more than it would have been in a non-spatial environment. So for us, we're waiting to see. Obviously we've started this company based on a very bullish outlook on the value of ads in these environments. But for us, we're waiting to see from companies like these guys, and then hoping to expand it and democratize it across, like I said before, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of app developers.
Nice. And Dana, from a value standpoint, and a creative, what type of value do you get from being able to tell a story in this immersive kind of virtual space?
Yeah, so I always kind of lean back on my traditional gaming experience, theory, all the gamer kind of psychology to think about what is it that we have done and have data to support that people will engage and will live out their hero fantasies when they're allowed to be interactive with the content. Let them play in these environments. Let them actually have some type of user input and feedback loop allows them to really resonate with the content and have a deeper, more emotional connection. And part of that too is also thinking about presence. Like, what is our digital presence? That is like one of the big things that people just love having as a digital identity. And so if you're able to allow people to somehow be represented within that space, if you allow them to interact with each other, give them intention and reason to be within that space, it's gonna allow them to connect even deeper with whatever brand it might be.
I mean, understanding these things is like so important for advertisers, right? Because if you work with an advertiser that does video that wants to just do video, you're not going to get successful creative out of it. But when you work with people who understand interactivity, who've done that kind of thing, they understand the multi-dimensions. And then the bottom line is, you're the people in the room that are going out into these major companies and you're, tapping on the shoulders and saying, hey, this isn't video. And I think this is so important. And studios like yours that are able to educate, brands about this shift are allowing them to take the creative into the right places.
I've worked in this space for so many years, and this is like what I eat and live and breathe. When I came to Around, we had a partnership with Target, and we were creating some content with them. And there was this game that we have where it was like a home run derby, but Bullseye, their little Target mascot, the little dog with like the little red eye thing, he was the pitcher. And so you would hit the ball that he would pitch to you, and you would flip into AR and you'd be able to see, like, you were basically mapped to the diamond. So you could see where your ball would hit in the actual diamond that you're sitting in front of. And the fact that little dog started dancing and clapping for me and shaking its little butt when I hit a home run made me connect with it in a completely different way. I had never even given Bullseye 2 cents when I walked into a Target. And now every single time when I walk into a Target and see that little statue there, I have this deeper emotional connection with this little dog because it was happy and celebrating my successes. And that's that feedback loop that made me connect with a brand in a completely different way than I would have ever anticipated before. But it's moments like that stick and resonate. Being able to play into people's senses and to their emotions, make them feel something completely different for our brand.
Awesome. Well, we have a little less than 10 minutes left, so I was going to jump to the end and kind of open it up to questions.
Thank you very much. This was a great panel today. So one thing that perhaps I haven't heard discussed is defining and measuring success. Mm-hmm. So maybe Dana, you could speak to the Uber Eats event, and maybe Raag with the Olympics. I don't know how directly this applies to you, Brett, but I would be interested in hearing about you went about defining and measuring success.
It's in the schedule. I just jumped past it, so
I figured.
Ready to talk about it.
Perfect question. Now we get to cover it.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, measuring success. It's kind of there's a few different ways, and unfortunately I can't reveal numbers, but one is, was it successful in its activation? Did people scan? Did they join? Did they play? So that's the first metric for us is, were they aware enough to know that this existed, and did they try to get in? That's the first thing. So we know that Uber Eats was very happy with the numbers that they saw for the amount of people that joined in and played. Now, so happy that they had another promotion that they wanted to do. There was a special promotion we were going to do for one game. And they were like, we really need to cap who can win on this game, because if we do not cap it, we're going to go out of business. So like we have to make sure that we scaled the metrics on the game end of it to make it more, the difficulty of the game just got a little bit harder because of the fact that we could not let in what we typically would let in as far as winners for the normal games. So we know that they're tracking the behavior, how many people got in, how many people were successful, how many people went through that whole cycle of that user journey and actually ordered their food and got it delivered to them. That's another metric that we track as well. So we're looking at telemetry, and we're looking at what are the minutes played, how much engagement are people actually using the app for. That's another question. With Disneyland, people would stay in after the game. The whole spot would be over, right? It was done, everyone won, blah, blah, blah. You would just see people hanging out, popping balloons and looking at fireworks. There was nothing really for them to win per se at that moment, but just the interaction alone and that reward of the firework was enough to keep them engaged for, I can't, again, reveal numbers, but it was ridiculous. I was like, they're still in there? What are they doing? But yeah, those are some of the things we look at.
You covered most of it, right? Playtime, something that we look at really closely. Impressions, aka how many people open it. If it's an in-person activation, how many people are stepping up to the plate to try to scan it. And then if it has a shopping component, like I want to click through to buy, easiest metric ever. Did they buy it? How many did they buy? Will you please buy more, please? Thank you. And then finally, the last thing I would say, all metrics aside, I'm just going to call out that innovation is still a huge motivation for a lot of brands right now. Obviously, it's not as much as maybe like a couple years ago, but I would still say that so many campaigns that we create or that get created in AR marketing right now, no one is asking about the metrics as much as they're asking about, one, is it creating a really great video that I can then monetize in my more traditional ways? Or is it telling a great story that I can put in press or I can put out in things? Just stuff I want to put out there because I think sometimes we forget that that is a huge motivation for a lot of brands right now.
Well said. We got one more question in the front here, if we could jump to this gentleman. And one other thing I would just throw out there is like engagement time is so much deeper than your average engagement time with ads. That's one thing that we see with a lot of our clients. They're just blown away. It's like, it's not just 10 seconds, 15 seconds, maybe a minute. It's like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Like that's it's a massive jump of engagement.
Hi guys, first of all, I want to congratulate you for the effort that you put for the transformation from conventional marketing to augmented reality. Because most of the people will wait for the complete ecosystem to evolve, then only they want to get in. So I am one such a person. See, my name is Mani, I'm coming from out-of-home media industry. I have my business in Malaysia and Dubai. This question I want to ask very specifically to Mr. Brett. Mr. Brett, see, retail advertising, what you have done is an incredible job. How we are going to get the users to engage? That's the challenge. Do you have any innovative idea? Or second question I want to put in is, a conventional out-of-home media player like us, how we should get prepared to face this transformation, what we should do?
What Dana and Raag are doing is a lot different because, for instance, Dana is presenting something at a stadium with 80,000 people. They're already engaged. And they're going to become more engaged, and they're leveraging that already existing engagement and accelerating to take it to a whole new level. For what we're doing, the first thing that has to happen is users and eyeballs need to be engaged with different apps. They need to want to use these apps. And they need to want to use these apps so much that they're willing to see ads as they're using the apps in the periphery or, in a way that it's not disruptive to what they're using the app for. Now, once those ads are there, there's more engagement that we need to create because we want them to hopefully interact with those ads. And eventually, the ads that we're running won't just be a banner ad that you might see on a website. It'll be things, hopefully, that once they become more standardized and protocoled, more like what Raag and Dana are building, experiential things, potentially. You see an ad on a wall, you stop what you're doing in the app, and you engage in that ad, and we've all clicked through on a website or even on from an app to somewhere else. That is great engagement because now that brand is getting them to their place, their home base, where they can do even more with them. So the ad creative, once it's there, is going to be critical to get users to do more, but the users have to be there in the first place. With respect to out of home, your second question, look, I think that I would guess a majority of the people in this room are a lot less excited about seeing AR holding their hand out with some block and more excited with something sitting on their face, glasses in particular. And I think, again, we started this company because we're very bullish on that future. And when it's glasses, it's a lot easier to kind of have the device ready to go wherever you are, specifically outside. One of the things that we envision is what we're calling augmented out of home, where if a user's walking down the street, let's say in Times Square, and they have glasses on and they happen to have an app on, we can start to augment what they're seeing in the real world. Maybe there's a billboard that Raag is looking at without glasses on, but because I'm looking at it with my glasses on and an app that's live, we replace that billboard with something else just for this user projected on that lens, personalized to that user, maybe the session, what they've done in the last 30 minutes on that app, other information that we have about them. So, I think we're not limited to what we can do indoors. We can certainly do all of this outdoors as well.
What Dana has done is more of concept sales from my point of view. She has done an incredible job, but more of a concept sales. I come from the space sales, media space sales. We both are more or less similar business. That's why the question I asked, okay, I do got your answer, but how many years from now it will take to see everybody wearing these glasses?
2 years. I know we're at time. I'm gonna say it right now. It's gonna be 2 years,
His lips, the
and
guy's
nobody's gonna ask what AR is. They're just gonna know. My mom is gonna be using it. She's gonna be like, why would I take my phone out and try to figure out where my navigation is? Because it's right here, okay? So I just said it, so 2 years. But I wanna say a huge thank you to our amazing panelists. These people are experts. Please chat with them after. Thank you, everybody, for
thank
coming.
you all.
Thank you all for coming.